Rachel Zegler lost her mind after her wokeness was crushed by none other than South Park. They took aim at the latest attempt by Disney to push their so-called woke agenda.
Eric, it's okay. Okay.
Matt, I had a dream that I was replaced by a diverse woman.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, only this time, it wasn't just me. They were taking all my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women complaining about the patriarchy.
Honestly, nobody's surprised South Park has been best known for calling out the absurdities of woke culture, and Disney's recent stunt with their Snow White remake practically had a target painted on them, but it looks like Rachel Zegler, Disney's chosen Snow White, isn't. Laughing word on the street is that she's not just upset, she's fuming over the parody and all the backlash that's been swirling around her role. So South Park aired an episode called Into the Panders. The title alone tells you everything you need to know. In classic South Park fashion, they didn't hold back. The gender and race swapped beloved characters like Cartman, Stan Butters, and Kenny into adult women of color. It was an obvious jab at what Disney's been doing lately, reworking classic stories, swapping characters, and throwing tradition out the window to appeal to a modern audience. But the satire didn't just stop there. It was a full-blown roast of everything people have been criticizing about Disney's recent remakes. Let's talk about Snow White. The casting of Rachel Zegler, who's Latina, sparked a lot of debate, especially since the original Snow White was literally named for having skin as white as snow. But what about Rachel now? It's become a big issue. Fans raise concerns that the connection just doesn't make any sense anymore. And honestly, they're not wrong, but it's not just the casting that has people rolling their eyes. Disney's decided to overhaul the story entirely, stripping away key elements that made it a beloved classic romance. Gone the Prince practic ally, erased seven dwarves. Say goodbye to them. It's almost like Disney's trying to make the story unrecognizable on purpose.
And I believe a little person, one person with dwarfism, and now they're just completely cut. There will be no dwarf actors at all working on this film, and in a live action, which means we're supposed to translate from animation to real life people.
And Rachel, she hasn't exactly helped her case with fans. In an interview, she's been called out for sounding dismissive and frankly entitled about her role. She's made it clear she's not a fan of the original story, describing it as outdated and problematic. In one interview, she even joked about snacks on set being apple-flavored, as if it were some kind of personal attack. Really, Rachel, that's what we're focusing on. It's no wonder fans are frustrated. They feel like she's trashing a cherished fairy tale to push this new version that doesn't feel like Snow White at all. Now here's where it gets even messier. Rachel's comment about the prince raised more than a few eyebrows. She hinted that romance is no longer part of the story, saying it's not about the love story at all. She even joked about the possibility of cutting all his scenes, whether or not she was being serious. The tone rubbed people the wrong way. Fans aren't just upset about the changes, they're upset about how those changes are being framed, like the original story was somehow wrong or inferior. And don't even get me started on the seven dwarves. Disney didn't just tweak them, they completely changed the concept. The original story was built around Snow White's connection to these characters, and now everything related to it is gone. It's another example of how far Disney's willing to go to rewrite its classics, and people aren't accepting it at all. If you're going to remake a generational film, shouldn't the goal be to honor its legacy, not erase it?
Timeless values that we all loved growing up that are sadly being forgotten in this new adaptation. I also don't know who is more excited, this guy or me, because the way he was bouncing in that video was absolutely insane. But somebody said, who's playing Snow White, Ben or Brett? I can't even tell. Never heard that joke before. That's really fun.
This isn't the first time Disney's faced backlash for these kinds of changes. Just look at The Little Mermaid casting Hailey Bailey as Ariel. sparked a wave of controversy, but that film still managed to retain much of its original charm in Little Mermaid's case. Fans have ranted about the casting, though the story stayed true to its roots problematically. That's not the case with Snow White. With so many drastic changes, fans feel like Disney is pandering to an agenda instead of creating something authentic. And when you add Rachel's tone-deaf interviews into the scenario, it makes the situation even more unacceptable for fans of course. South Park saw all of this and capitalized on it. They've always had a knack for holding up a mirror to society's absurdities, and their Panday episode is no exception. By race and gender swapping their own iconic characters, they took the satire to a whole new level, showing just how ridiculous some of these decisions can be when taken to the extreme. And let's be real, South Park doesn't care whose feelings they hurt. Disney isn't the first to feel their stink, and they definitely won't be the last. It's no secret that South Park has a long history of targeting Disney, but this latest Panday episode feels like it was tailor-made to critique the studio's current direction. Well, it makes a good mockery of plenty of studios for serving woke audiences. It's crystal clear that Disney, and specifically the Snow White remake, was the center of their focus. After all, Disney's been doubling down on these castings and story overhauls, and South Park wasn't about to let them off the hook. So what is the main message of that episode? Changing a character's ethnicity or gender in a pre-existing story isn't real diversity, especially when it doesn't promote the wokeness. So what comes to your mind after listening to this Snow White ride? Even though South Park was never about exploring cultural or ethnic backgrounds, but Disney kind of asked them to criticize what they were doing to Snow White in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for a lot of fans, that's the real issue. It's not about inclusivity, it's about authenticity, or in this case, the lack of it. Rachel Zegler's involvement hasn't exactly helped either. Fans can't get over how dismissive she's been towards the original story. Her interviews feel less like excitement for a cherished role and more like disdain for what Snow White was, and in her support for stripping away the love story, sidelining the prince, and turning Snow White into some kind of warrior archetype. And you've got a recipe for alienating just about everyone who grew up loving the original.
How they're gonna sum that up and fix it, I have no idea. Please, please, please don't make it something where she's like asking him, or like it's her. She's the one who actually makes the kiss happen in the end. I don't know.
This is why South Park satire cut so deep by exaggerating these kinds of moves in their Panday episode. They tell the audience how hollow it can feel when studios prioritize superficial changes over genuine storytelling. Casting Rachel's Snow White feels less like an inspired choice and more like a marketing gimmick designed to earn diversity points, and instead of winning over fans, it turned into a PR nightmare, with Rachel herself being ridiculed and fans of the classic tale completely turned off. But this isn't South Park's first rodeo when it comes to roasting Disney. Back in 2022, they aired the Streaming Wars, which also poked fun at the entertainment giant, unless I'll forget their attack on Star Wars after Disney acquired it, or even their infamous portrayal of Mickey Mouse in past episodes. Disney's not just a frequent target, they're practically a recurring character in South Park's universe of satire. It clearly looks like Disney isn't thrilled about South Park's trolling. Rumors say that the company is trying to talk things out with South Park's creators to prevent more episodes like this from being aired. It's easy to see why they've built their empire on carefully crafted public perception, and South Park's unfiltered critique is a direct hit to their business model. If you thought Mickey Mouse being mocked was bad, this Panday episode might just be their most brutal takedown yet.
Values like love and kindness and friendship and inner beauty versus vanity and romance, for Pete's sake, because apparently that's missing in 2023. Weird.
No!
Also, speaking of the source material, many people were asking online,
For fans, it's not about woke propaganda promotion. It's about respecting the stories they love. Snow White's adventure was iconic for a reason, and her love story was a central part of that. By removing it entirely, Disney isn't making the story more modern, they're depriving it of what made it resonate in the first place. Fans aren't asking for a carbon copy of the past, they're asking for adaptations that honor the heart of the original while still feeling relevant. What do you think about all this drama? Let us know down in the comment section below, and remember to subscribe for more updates on woke Disney and Snow White. See you in the next one.